So the biggest things that I've learned as I've gone through this of how we overcome imposter syndrome, how we overcome feeling inadequate, is first off, recognize that negative thought. Right there for where it is and for what it is. And know that there's probably zero truth in it. But we give power to things that are not necessarily truth because things spin in our head. And the second you let a negative thought come in and say, you're not qualified for this, you're not going to get the money that you're asking for, maybe you should cut back and ask for a lesser price, you're not going to get that job because you don't have enough qualifications. The second you let that one little negative thought take over, you've already stopped yourself. You already let whomever else win. And you can't allow that to happen. The most successful people, I always ask athletes, they're the 1% of the 1%. So what makes them great? They say it's their mental state. They're already gifted. They're already working on their craft. It's their mental state. And so many times, if you're a fan of the team, you have plays where you're like cheering them on. And you have a play where like, what did that idiot do? And it costs something. They have to recognize when they make a mistake, drop it and move on because another play is coming, another play is coming. Mistakes happen, and others will come. But you don't give in to the negative aspect of that mistake. You don't give in to the negative aspect of that misplay or the misspoken word, because then you'll keep repeating and having more. So recognize right off the bat when a negative thought comes in for what it is. Imposter syndrome is something we all experience. You are not alone in that. And when we realize we're not alone, it's easier to say, okay, I'm not the only one maybe feeling a little inadequate in life in a moment. And how also do you do that? Well, you count your successes. You count your capabilities and your qualifications. Start thinking of all the times you negotiated that contract and it worked in your favor. Or you were in the meeting and you were able to get the result that you wanted. You count your successes, so the first time that negative thought comes up, you realize you've already overcome what you're walking into. And when you've already overcome it, well, you can do it again. So count your successes, not your losses. Another thing you do, and I really struggled with this, and I don't know if it's a female thing or if it's a male thing or if it's just something we all have to deal with in life. Have you ever just written down what you are good at? Written down all your strengths? I had a really hard time doing this. I had to get somebody to help me, and they rambled off 10 things just like that, and I had like maybe 3. Because qualities and skills that are my strength, I'm quick to dismiss. I don't view it as a strength. That's just me. But to somebody else, that is a strength. That's a quality. That's something they can't do and aren't capable of. So don't dismiss your qualities. Write them down. Know where your strengths are and what you're good at. So when that negative thought comes in, you say, oh, I'm already prepared for this because this aligns with my skill set. And then where your weaknesses are, we can work on those. We can grow from those. One of my next step examples here, my next points on how you can kind of overcome this is you have to visualize it. Visualize the outcome of what you want. Visualize where you want to go. Walk yourself through it. Write it down. Write those goals down. We hear this all the time, write down the goals. But do we do it? Do we go back and follow up with it? Because studies find that those that write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. And when we visualize it, we've already done it. We've already won. So now we're going to step into it. And sometimes it doesn't have to be the big goal. It can be little goals in your day that you get to cross off and you feel like you accomplished it. And then you'll realize you get closer to the overall big goal. But you have to see that for yourself. So again, when that negative self-talk comes in, you've already said, no, this is not in line with the goals that I'm going to accomplish. And you flip it. The third point is you have to have the right people in the room with you. You have to have the right support system. As I told you, when I got called for this job, I could only call a select few. I called my mentors. I called the closest to me that knew my weaknesses, knew my strengths, those who I could be vulnerable with and trust. I called them and I said, this is what's wanted. And I said, you're here because these are your great qualities that got you to this position. Here are your weaknesses. How can we counteract that? What do we need to do? And because they were my mentors and confident and close friends, we could talk about where I had areas to build and grow. And in a way that's going to be constructive. But you have to have the right people in your corner. I've had so many great mentors over my career, and they flip and they change. Seek them out. Who has done what you want to do? Who's with you that you can call on and say, how do you approach that? What is the greatest things that you've done? How did you do it? Where are some of the mistakes you've made and how did you learn? How did you grow? How do you avoid that? When you have the right mentors, you will watch yourself grow and keep taking those steps. And you also have to have an ally. The difference is an ally is somebody who speaks up for you when you're not in the room. They have skin in the game. I had allies that spoke up when they knew that there was an opportunity coming up that already planted the seeds that I was the right person for the job. So those conversations were already had. So when I said, we've got to hire somebody for this retired gentleman, they came to me. And then I could bring my mentors in and discuss it. But allies are invested in your success. They will advocate for you. They will lobby for you. And you will grow with them. You also just have to be careful who your friends are, right? We know the power of that. You go where your friends go. We all know we're the sum of that. If you look at all my close girlfriends, and I'm not one who will fill a room for a party like this, but I'll have 10 great girls there. And they are all boss ladies. They run businesses. They run homes. They are out there making things happen. And they celebrate with me when I have successes. And we know in this room, sometimes there's women and men that don't want to see you succeed. Yeah. Did we script that? I have a feeling you've had some friends you've had to cut from your life, right? And that can be hard to do. But when you take an allotment of the people in your life and you sit back and you say, you know what, some of these conversations I just feel drained from all the time. You know, they just weigh heavy. I don't have time for that. My job was 7 days a week, 8 months out of the year. The rest of the time as this SVP, I was working a regular full-hour shift. I didn't take a vacation in 4 years that I didn't work if I took a vacation. I don't have time for somebody that's not going to build me up and support me and help me along the way. We don't have time for that. And if you're always having to bring somebody with you, it can be exhausting, right? So make sure you've got the right people that can help you. And also you can trust to say, hey, you know what? You kind of didn't handle that the right way. You didn't handle that meeting the right way. And it's hard to accept sometimes when we make mistakes and we have failures. But when we have the right people with us, we learn from that. I learned from the way that I presented one of the great ideas that the station had. I learned from that on how to be better at it because I had the right people that could pull me aside and say, hey, it's a great idea, wrong approach. You know? But it also never kept me, and every time when those little things came, because I knew I had the support of mentors, I knew that I had allies, I knew that I had good friends in my circle of people, I knew that anytime imposter syndrome or self-doubt or insecurities or you're not good enough or what are you qualified for comes into my mind, I had the ability to kick it and not give it any room, to recognize it, change the thought, visualize what I want, and have the right people with me as we go there. Thank you.